Welcome back, ball fans. There's a lot of weeks, Bob, that we don't have kind of figure out what we're going to talk about.
Hmm.
And even though we don't get to do these as often as we'd like, due to work and some illness this winter and whatnot, sometimes it's still a struggle. But I think we got a couple things we could talk about today.
Yeah, there's a little bit going on out there. I don't know if anybody heard or not, but Nico's left. We have a new quarterback this season. Uh, you know, um, I usually do my little sign off for the videos, Go Vols, but it might be for now on Go Vols, screw Nico. And yes, that's immature, but that's who I am a little bit. And it's pretty immature to him leave, and screw this university over and this fan base that loved him for a
You
couple
know,
of
he
years there.
he really has went from being one of the more loved players, popular players I can remember,
Hmm.
and within 48 hours has become one of the most probably hated former Vols that I mean, right now, Kiffin and is probably more popular.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you want to, and y'all, I'm sorry, feel free to comment in the comment section. Who is the most hated Vol? Because that is very interesting. We may even put that in our community notes, a poll for that one between him, Kiffin. Some people really dislike Pearl, and maybe a fourth one might be Henry Toto, maybe.
Yeah,
But I think he might be a.
I
I'm
think
just
people
curious
take.
where the top, where the Nico would be in the pecking order.
As of today, I'm with
He's
the
number one
best
on my
number
list.
one.
Yeah, he's number one on my list.
Uh, but we'll talk about Nico. We'll talk about the future of the program,
Hmm.
that the quarterback position in specific, how this might affect some other players, and of course, we'll talk about today's orange and white game.
Yes.
Well, let's back up a little bit and just give our. I mean, we're just fans, okay?
Yeah.
And what's the common, what's the man on the street feeling about the Nico situation? And then, since a lot of things is happening, we're getting more information by the hour. Um, we'll kind of give the latest on that. So, Bob, take it away with that right there. Other than you calling him every other name that I've heard you call
Right.
him the last day or two.
Exactly.
Have at it.
Well, first of all, his group, his team, or whatever you want to call them, is going to try to spin it one way. But everything out there, even, Chris Lowe, which is former uh, Tennessee beat writer, ESPN guy, who's pretty dang accurate when he posts something. Reporting that it's $4 million what he's asked for back in December, and then again now. We kind of stand put on it. Said, basically you're not worth $4 million, and so he's decided to leave. So, and we said good riddance. Um, but they're going to try to spin it as,
Of course.
it wasn't about money. It's about,
Well, that's what they tried to say the first day.
yeah, and that was total bullcrap.
Yeah, they attacked the guy that broke the story. Nico's dad called him a bitch,
Yeah.
um, and everything. And then his the family friend, uh, Landers,
Yeah.
uh, made some tweets about it too, ridiculing Pete Nakos.
Right.
And it isn't often within 24 hours it blows up in your face.
Right. It appears that Nico's team reached out to Landers.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning, and gauged his interest, and it looks like he may have warned Heupel about it, and that's where it went all downhill. Um, but you know, uh, but the Nico, they're going to try to spin it in every way other. They're going to spin it. Oh, we didn't get no help, or we don't like the offense, or we want to live closer to home. It's going to be other thing about money, but it was about money. It was about greed and money.
Well, I won't go as great as much as look. If I can make more money and I've got some leverage, or you can at your work, I'm not going to fault you for it.
Right.
Okay. Um, but I think his dad overestimated
His worth.
his worth because up to this point, we've probably given him between $4 and $5 million already, and he redshirted 1 year, so he
Right.
didn't earn a penny of that.
Right.
And then he had a very mid freshman season.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
owes
middle of
us
the pack.
money.
He's not earned what he got
No.
yet up to this point.
Yeah.
And then you want to walk into there and go, give me a 50 or 60% raise or whatever it could, what it worked out to be.
Right.
And or I'm walking.
Yeah. I mean, he could have played at the 2.4 this year and been just fine because he owed us up to this point. The way I looked at it. And, and I've been okay with renegotiating it mid-season if he showed that, hey, I can be something. But by UT not going with this tells you what they thought of Nico. If you ever want to know what Heupel really thinks about Nico and what his potential is in this offense.
Well, I won't say his potential.
What he thought he was going to get. How's that? He thought he was going to get 2.4 million kind of out of him. For what they thought. They weren't going to get 4 million.
Yeah, because if they thought that he could have been elite this season, he'd be making 4 million right now.
Close to it, yeah. But he wouldn't have walked.
Yeah, they would have made him happy.
Yeah, they would have.
Here. And we've talked about that. This ain't sour grapes.
Yeah.
We've talked about it on this podcast before. Love his long-term potential. Love his ceiling. Very high.
Very high ceiling.
But, we talked about last year, sometimes slow to process a few things, going to the wrong receivers. Even on some big plays, you would see, well, that wasn't who he needed to go to. Actually, we had somebody else wide freaking open, running down the field unguarded. So, but he's young. It takes a while. So not everybody learns at the same speed.
Right.
But I believe Heupel and them saw enough that they thought his growth in the offense was not going to be worth 4 million.
Right.
So now Nico's people has went out. Rumor is they're trying to get professional representation.
Yeah. Should have done that months ago.
Should have done it months ago.
Might still be here.
Probably would be. Or he would have left in December. He'd already be somewhere else making a good coin, and we'd have our someone else in our quarterback room.
I really don't think he will do particularly well wherever he goes because you need time. He seemed to be struggling with the mental aspect of it, and now he's going to go somewhere after spring practice and try to pick up a totally different type of offense. I'll be really surprised if he lights it up next year.
Yeah, and that's also going to hurt us when we go to the portal to try to get a quarterback and come in here and learn Heupel's offense at a short term.
And I really think we will. I mean that.
We definitely will.
We got to. You can't really go with end of the season with 2 quarterbacks.
No, you can't.
Whether that portal guy is the starter or a potential backup, somebody who we think can compete. We'll see. It largely depend on
what's out there.
And, we may do some tampering there because we haven't done that very much to this point.
Yeah, in my opinion, anyway.
Right.
And we've talked about why we have reasons other than orange-colored glasses for that. But quickly, I want to step back for a second before we move on to the future of what we have. Is I think today already Nico's team is putting out there that the reason nobody could get a hold of him yesterday, Friday, when he seemed to disappear off the face of the earth, was because of all the notoriety. He was trending on Twitter Thursday.
Yeah.
That he had to take a day off for mental health.
Yeah.
Now, I know they was trying to pull, give me some sympathy, because they were trying to turn the narrative that was forming.
Yeah.
Okay. But inadvertently,
created another narrative.
Yes.
That he's mentally weak.
That he's mentally weak.
Yes.
And
that's what you want your quarterback
go hide instead of calling your coaches to tell them what's going on.
Yes.
It is like, I guess probably after that's when somebody must have took him to the side and said, "Hey, dumbasses.
Yeah. Or killing his quarterbacks.
Killing yourself.
Yeah.
For the love of God, go get professional help." And maybe they thought it meant an agent, but they might have been talking about psychiatrists at that point. I mean, how you in 48 hours?
Yeah.
you've swung from being a loved figure to a hated figure, and going from making colleges and the media be the sympathetic figure within a 48-hour period. That's quite an accomplishment.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's not something you want out there, that you're mentally weak.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
does it need a support animal on the sidelines? I mean, we want to get a,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, personally, I'm a little upset myself on a personal level. We've been talking about Nico here for about a year and a half, and I believe this is going to be the second time, if I get it correctly. IAMALEAVA. The only second time I ever got that right in this entire time. And it took me this long, and now he's gone. So,
Yeah. Now it's NICO I am leaving.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, at least we have most of the national media's kind of been on our side from what everything I've seen for the most part.
Yeah. Former players, some NFL players.
Yeah.
Well, one high-profile college coach used this as an opportunity, really, to kind of let us pay the price, so he don't have to, but send a message to his team.
I think so. Mario Cristobal said basically, if you're going to hold out, then get out. So I think he, like you said, I think he probably took it as a subtle hint to his team as well.
Yeah, but look, almost everybody on the team is probably trying to renegotiate at one point or another every year now. Uh, but most of them do it the right way. They probably, many of them, get the money they want, or a portion of it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when you make unrealistic demands, and then it gets to be public, and it becomes an embarrassment for the university, and you even make it worse,
Right.
then it becomes a cluster pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um, Now that said, I think where do you see him landing right now, Bob? I mean, I'm not. That's probably not the biggest thing on our minds, but before we put that in the rear mirror,
As of this moment, it looks like UCLA, as of the recording of this. That's the rumor, and I'll be surprised if he gets anywhere near 4 million.
if that's his landing spot.
If that's his landing spot, because they seem to be NIL poor for the most part, and I don't. It's a really interesting. That kind of tells you where his market is, though, if that's where he goes, because he's probably not going to get a huge bag there. His team's going to stink. He's going to get beat up.
But he will be closer to home.
Be closer to home. That way, I guess that you
So
have
he can
support.
So he can get emotional support.
Yeah.
From Big Nick or whatever.
Well, let's talk about the orange and white game, Tim, and now the future.
The future. I mean,
two quarterbacks we got on our roster.
Two talented guys, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Going into the spring game, we'd heard a lot of good things about Merklinger, and that
really one of the stars of the spring.
Yeah, and that George was kind of struggling a little bit because they're trying to work on his mechanics a little bit.
Yeah.
But now in orange and white game, I think most people would say that George looked better.
Yeah, McIntyre definitely had a better game, even though, like you said, we watched it just a moment ago. Somebody filmed it. We couldn't go to it today for work obligations and whatnot. But McIntyre may have been playing against second and third string, and it's possible that Merck was playing against first. But as you told me earlier, when you're throwing them into the dirt, it doesn't really matter who you're playing against. Yeah.
Yeah, McIntyre looked better, and I will say, both guys showed some mobility.
Yeah, they can get out and run.
Yeah, McIntyre looked actually very natural at it, more natural than Nico, honestly.
Well, there's probably a reason for that, Bob. The last 4 years, he's played behind Sharman offensive line.
Yeah, and they play tough competition too.
Yeah, he run for his life for 4 years,
so he's used to it.
You might actually have to get him out of taking off
so quickly.
So quickly.
That's true. That's true.
That's the biggest problem with dealing with somebody that's had that bad offensive line problems. You see that in the NFL sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's only a freshman, but I'm assuming he's probably ahead of the game mentally. His father was has been coaching. His grandfather was a former Vanderbilt coach.
Right.
Um, so he's grown up in it.
And he needs to be now. I wasn't too worried about him being at that stage here just a while back, but now he needs to be.
It needs to be accelerated.
Yes. Yes.
And I think Merck would be fine, honestly. Um, I just think he probably had a bigger case of nerves today. He thought he had another year to kind of chill and kind of learn. And he went from that to the knowing that the crosshairs were on him now.
Yes.
George had nothing to really lose. He's the new kid on the block, not expected to take the
True
job.
freshman. Yeah.
Um, and
But like we said, we will be getting a transfer in.
yeah, we will.
Guaranteed of that. Now, who are they? How good are they? Are they better than these two guys or worse or whatever? I don't know. But hopefully these guys make a lot of. I think the talent is there. Hopefully they make a big jump between now and fall practice because they need to. We need somebody.
Well, there's nothing like getting your attention to learn and grow as knowing that you're going to be out on the field.
Right. I mean, they said, we prepare like we're the starters. And that may be true to some extent.
To an extent.
But I feel like, if you really know you're the starter or you could be starting, I do feel like you probably put just a little bit more into it.
Well, without a doubt. And I wish they both had the opportunity to get first and second string reps
All spring,
all
right?
spring.
Yeah.
If Merckett had gotten all the ones work and George got, some ones and some twos,
Yeah.
it would have helped both guys out.
But, I will say one thing before we get off here, Tim, and which kind of might have hindered them just a little bit. I feel like our offense, and I knew going into this thing, offense was going to be very vanilla. We weren't going to show nothing.
We've talked a lot about tweaking the system.
Yeah.
New schemes and everything. And let's face it, the orange and white game, when you want to put new stuff into your offense, I can promise you what you're not going to see on the orange and white game.
Yes.
And that is anything new.
Right. So the offense was very vanilla. Is everything they'd showed before. They ain't gonna show stuff like that. So like you said, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind that they didn't have the full playbook.
No.
Probably playing a lot of the same plays that the defense probably recognized quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, go to that. And I saw that on several passes, to be honest, back where the DBs were already moving in that area before the ball ever left.
They knew what the play was. Yeah.
And speaking of, as one play I would want to bring up, Bob, we've heard a lot of good things about Smith.
Travis Smith. Yeah.
Travis Smith, borderline 5-star, depending on which site you're talking about. Stud wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And, Darius Jackson, who was kind of overlooked because of Smith.
Right.
But he's had a heck of a spring his own self.
Right. Yeah.
And had the play of the day, I'm sure, on a little on a long pass down the sideline where he just goes up in one hand, stabs it, Brent comes down around the 3-yard line and shouts that. That looked like something you saw out of Smith for Ohio State or that 17-year-old kid for Alabama last year.
Yeah.
It looked like a big-time guy. I mean, of course, it's one play out of however many he's on the field.
Yeah.
But
shows potential.
Yeah, when you go up and moss somebody, then it grabs people's attention.
Sure does.
And I think we got 2 of those guys. I mean, let's talk a little bit about that too, Bob. Right now, our wide receiver room's a little shallow.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of concern that you remember the first time when there was talk of NICO leaving in December. Mike Matthews was about to go.
Right.
And now he's our clear-cut number 1 wide receiver. And, you hope he stays. But you also have to ask about some other people, I mean, Wyndham Moy, who looks like probably our best offensive lineman as of today. NICO was one of the big reasons he came here.
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's other players that feel similar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping most of the teams got pissed at Nico and
Right.
really show him, we're going to show you. Uh, I don't think at this point, I'm not super worried about any individual leaving because of this, but it's something you got to be aware of.
It is something you're going to need to be watching in the next few days.
Yeah, the portal opens up Wednesday.
Right. So we're going to be looking for portal action leaving. Hopefully nobody.
Well,
Uh,
we will get a couple.
uh,
There might be people we want to leave though.
right. Yeah. Maybe like Brian Grant.
Well, I'd hate to bring names up
But,
myself,
right.
but I expect a couple offensive linemen. Yeah.
Yeah. Messiah Reddick. I think a couple guys who, nothing against them, but
They're not going to play at this level.
yeah, they're just not at this level. We've misdevalued on those guys, and but yeah, there could be somebody else. But we're liable to lose a couple. Hopefully, it's ones we're not too concerned about, and would not be shocked if we go and get one or two guys, maybe a quarterback.
Well, definitely a
receiver,
quarterback now.
maybe
Most likely.
technical.
Yeah, I've already heard some defensive tackle names.
Possibly a corner. Who knows? I mean, there'll be some movement there because we're kind of thin at several spots. Don't expect superstars at a lot of these spots because most of those went in the portal.
And that's pre-December.
Yeah.
The winter portal seems to have your bigger stars most of the time.
Yeah.
And honestly, like we probably do need numbers when it comes to wide receivers, but Pope has not shown the ability, or Tennessee's really not shown the ability to bring a first-year guy in and get him
There's not
productive
many.
in this offense.
Yeah.
Since Heupel's been here.
Right.
But now that said, sometimes if you got to force a coach's hand to play you, because Lord, coaches they're so bad that they'll keep a guy out that's senior on the field that drops 3 passes, falls down, can't get open, limping because he's hurt for 3 months,
I know.
can dragging a leg, and keep a future All-Pro wide receiver on the sidelines because he's a freshman and I'm afraid he's going to run the wrong way and cause an interception.
Good example is that is having Squirrel White out there who dove every time the ball touched his hands with a hurt shoulder.
Yeah, and always landing on it. I mean,
Yeah.
for the love of God, Squirrel, stay on your feet, man. Your shoulders, no wonder you're not getting healthy.
Yeah. And then people like Mike Matthews with more talent than him who can continue to run after catching the ball on the bench. I know it's slightly different positions, but both wide receivers. But I mean, just several instances, and that's just not here, but there's other places. But yeah, their coaches are bad for doing that. But what else you got, Tim?
Well, like I said, that's really where my focus over the next week is going, to watch the transfer portal. There's going to be a lot of names float out there for quarterbacks that we're going to be looking at.
Right.
Whether it be like you mentioned earlier today, Toomey Bob, Avery Johnson at Kansas State, Haynes King down at Georgia Tech.
Right.
There's going to be 20 names pop up in the next little bit. So if one of them seems to actually gain traction, we'll be sure to get back on here and talk about him in particular. But I just want to say, Bob, even though after all this, as we sign off, go Big Orange.
Screw Nico. Go Vols.